Gonna be finally so he wants to play Byzantines, and this is something I've wanted to do for such a long time now, and it got stopped for various reasons. But we're back with the series as it's been much requested, and Byzantines is a good one to get it started back up again with. So let's get into this. If you guys are new to the series or unfamiliar with what it is, basically I'm going to go ahead and take a look at a civilization in depth, both from the theoretical perspective of taking a look at the tech tree and talking about what you should go for in theory, the strengths and weaknesses, and then also show you guys a game at the top level of how I choose to play Byzantines against another top player, and we can learn how the practical side of things develop as well. So without further ado, let's just hop right into this one and take a look at the tech tree of Byzantine. Actually, before we do that, I'm going to quickly talk about some of the maps it's good on. Byzantines is not bad for open line maps like Arabia and stuff, but they kind of excel on hybrid maps, so they can use their fire galleys as well as their strong land options at the same time. And they do pretty well on closed maps like Arena. I can see them being passable on Golden Pit as well. So they're quite flexible in what maps they're pretty good on. So I would say that Byzantine is a pretty well-rounded civilization and definitely has a lot of strengths and different maps that they can be played on. So pretty good variety there. But anyway, let's hop into the tech tree here and take a look at what the civ has to offer. So Byzantines, it's described as a defensive civilization. Its first bonus is that buildings have extra HP, hit points, in Dark Age, Feudal Age, Castle, and Imperial Age, increasing by 10% each age. This is a really good defensive bonus. However, it could also be used offensive if you go for like a forward castle or if you go for Tower Rush in Feudal and Castle Age. Next up, they have Camel Riders, Skirmishers, Pikemen, and Halberdiers, costing minus 25% resources. Yeah, this is pretty good. I think this is probably their best bonus. It's definitely what they're most known for. Cheaper trash, and then throw in the camel in there as well. I would say that generally speaking, you have to make use of this bonus to do well with Byzantine. However, just having this bonus makes your opponent potentially play a bit weird against you because he doesn't want to fall into your cheaper trash units and get completely countered. So this bonus is really good, both when you use it and when you don't use it, because of the threat that you always have the cheaper units available. It's kind of like, you don't want to play a lot of archers versus Goths because they have the threat of husk roll. So then even if they don't go for husk roll, well, you still don't want to really overcommit to archers because you know that threat can always come. Similar concept in my opinion there. Maybe to a lesser degree though. Fire ships attacking 25% faster. Yeah, really good water bonus there, especially on the short, close distance water fights. Advancing to Imperial Age costs minus 33%, makes a lot of fast in play possible, which gives them even more options than they already had with the cheaper units here. And then finally they get Town Watch for free, which is a nice little bonus. Helps against tower rushes, but also helps you get a smooth Feudal Age more often than not. The unique unit is the Cataphract, and we'll talk a bit more about him later. It's a cavalry unit. And the unique text is the Greek Fire, giving the fire ships +1 range. Pretty good in some situations. And then Logistica, which causes Cataphracts to deal trample damage, which is, if you guys don't know what trample damage means, it's just area of effect damage. So if it hits one unit, units around that unit will also take 5 damage of bonus damage. And that one is unaffected by armor. So it's just 5 flat every time. And then finally, their team bonus is that monks heal 50% faster. Pretty good on Arena. Pretty good when you're trying to heal up your knights or camels. It's not a bad overall bonus, and especially for team, it's nice. All right, so let's take a look at the tech tree now, and I'm going to go through all the different options that you can go for with Byzantines and that are actually viable. So first up, you have Arbalest, Hand Cannon, and Heavy Cav Archer all available to you at the Archer range with Thumb Ring available to you as well. You're missing Parting Tactics. Their Cav Archers are really bad. You're missing Bloodlines as well. Cav Archers is not really a good option for them. However, Arbalest is a very legitimate option. You get fully upgraded. You even get the faster imp, which goes hand in hand with Arbalest. That's a good option. And then Castle Age, or even in Onwards, or even Feudal Age, you get cheaper Skirmishers. So the Skirm line is very dangerous. And then finally, you get Hand Cannoneer in case you need to counter some infantry at the start of Castle Age. So very strong archery range there. Moving on to the barracks, we see this one is also full of options. Supplies Champions is definitely a possibility, and then they get fully upgraded Halberdiers that are also cheaper. In fact, sorry, you're missing the last attack upgrade, but aside from that, full upgrade Halberdier that are also cheaper, which is pretty crazy if you ask me, and definitely one of their best tools against cavalry civs. Moving on to the stable, again, many options here. You have the Paladin, you have the Heavy Camel Rider, and you have the Hussar. The thing is, there's one catch, you're missing Bloodlines. So you do have Husbandry, but you're missing Bloodlines. what does this mean for Byzantine? This does not really affect their camels too much. Why? Because their camel line is cheaper. They get minus 25% camels. So if you have 20 camels, normally with bloodlines, with Byzantines, I'm just going to throw a number out there, you might have like 26 camels for the same price, maybe even 28 camels for the same price. And so, you're missing bloodlines, but you also have a few more. So it ends up balancing out in some way. But for the knights, it does mean that going full knights and castles is not really going to be good because they're not cheaper, the same cost as anyone else. And when bloodlines kicks in around like 10 or 12 knights, it's going to be hard to be winning fights. It also means that their late game paladin and even their late game heavy camel rider are not going to be as strong as other units. So pop effectiveness is definitely lowered because of the lack of bloodlines. Their Hussar is not a bad option for late game, but only go for Hussar if there's no better option. And I say this because although Hussar is a great unit, you guys know this, lacking bloodlines means you're going to lose to other Hussars or even other light cavalry. And on top of that, we're lacking the +2 attack. So the stable units, although it looks like they have a good tech tree, they're deceptively weak. So I would say only go for Hussar and Paladin or Cavalier if you have a very good reason to. It's still an option, don't get me wrong. It's still good, but only if you have a very good reason to and you have other options that don't quite cover what you want with the stable. Again, the exception to this is the heavy camel rider, which is just beastly because it's so cheap. You can mass so many of them, and you don't really feel the missing upgrades with that unit in particular. Next up, we have the Siege Workshop, which again, we got plenty of options. Siege Ram, probably their main unit for heavy siege, but then they also have Onager and Bomber Cannon. Bomber Cannon is a stock standard fast imp unit, so faster imp with Arbaleth Bomber Cannon can be a great early push composition. Very, very dangerous. Blacksmith, you got full upgrades except the Blast Furnace, which I would actually argue is maybe one of the worst upgrades you can have in the late game out of the Blacksmith. Like, I would prefer to have this, this, and this. I would probably want Blast Furnace over the Ring Archer Armor, though, I gotta say, in most cases. However, this upgrade is something that, although it sounds really good, the extra 2 attack, on melee units, it's more important to have armor. So they still have a really good Blacksmith tech tree. Again, controversial. To some people, you guys like your attack, but that's the statement I would make, and I'd stand by and defend it if need be. Full upgrades at the dock, faster firing fire ships as well. Great unit, or great, not unit, well, great unit too, but great variety of tech available here, and great on water maps for sure. And then University, I mean, the main thing that they're missing siege engineers, but they do have Bomber Tower and Keep, which is really good aside, in combination with their higher HP buildings as well. Moving on, we have the Cataphract now, so we'll talk about him. He costs 70 food and 75 gold, and the upgrade is pretty expensive, and so is the Logistica, although they've recently been made cheaper. So basically, Cataphract has an attack bonus versus infantry. That's the first special thing about them. The second special thing about them is that they take less damage to bonus damage onto cavalry units. So Halberdier will deal less damage to Cataphracts. Heavy Camel will deal less damage to Cataphracts. Samurai will not deal less damage to Cataphract because that's an attack bonus against unique units. Hope that makes sense. And then the third special thing about them is when you get Logistica, they do trample damage. So Cataphract is really mostly good against infantry units. However, it's pretty good against other cavalry once you get Logistica as well because it's fairly strong and it does a lot of damage. It's mainly weak against archer units because it has less pierce armor than a knight, so less base pierce armor. So something to keep in mind there. One of their best power late game units, though, for sure. And then Monk Tech Tree, it's all there. They're missing Herbal Medicine, but on the flip side, they have Monk healing 50% faster, so you're totally fine there. And as far as late game eco techs, you have everything available to you, so really no shortage there. But yeah, man, there's so many options available. If you can recap, like, you got the cheaper trash units, the cheaper camels, you have Arbalest fully upgraded, you have the faster imp potential, you have really good defensive options with castles and bomber towers, you got the Cataphract, the hand cannon to counter infantry, you have a full tech stable as well in case you need some sort of late game units or some mobility. So although they're not the strongest, they're still an option. So how I would describe Byzantines before I show you this replay is that they're a jack of all trades and they can do so many different things and they can get away with so many different options as well, which makes them extremely tricky to play against. And while they might not have a direct eco bonus, they are saving resources by making a variety of units. And normally I'd say that that's kind of weaker than an eco bonus, and it still is to some extent, because eco bonus, you mean you always get resources and you can spend it however you want. Byzantines, they don't get an eco bonus, but they save on so many different types of units and on Imperial Age that in every standard game, you're bound to save resources in one way or another. And then you're also getting free town watch, so you're saving resources in that way a little bit. So they're an extremely underrated civ in my opinion at the top level. And sometimes they can feel underwhelming, but sometimes they can feel kind of unstoppable as well. So kind of a weird civ, but definitely something that I'd recommend picking up if you want to have a civ that can do pretty much everything at a good level. So anyway, enough talking here. Let's go ahead and show you guys the game that I have in mind. So single player, we're going to load a game here. I'm going to go to my replay section. And I actually played this game recently against MBL. Yeah, I actually played one game that day. And funny story, I actually had a lot of games for So You Want to Play Byzantine. But let me take off the scoreboard actually here. We don't need it for this time. I had a lot of games played for Byzantine, but I never really got to them. Like I recorded another 2 games of Byzantine, but I never made that video, so I had to play another one, and then finally I got one Byzantine game that I'm able to make the video with. So here we are, and let's take a look at this one. So I'm playing in blue here as the Byzantine. My opponent is MBL, playing in red as the Slavs. And let's take a look at how this game plays out. So right away, I would say that this matchup, I mean, it's pretty even in the sense that I've lost against Slavs. I played Byzantine against Viper, he was Slavs, and he beat me with Slavs. And Slavs is a pretty good civ in its own right. I do feel like Byzantine have slightly more options for 1v1 though, and a little bit, I guess, more smooth to play because you have, you know, Arbalest, you have the cheaper trash units, you have a really solid late game. However, Slavs are really good too, and they have the siege option, the infantry, and the cavalry that's top tier. So definitely good plays on both sides in terms of civilization. Let's go to my perspective here, just to show you my thought process as I go for a regular scout. By the way, I want to preface this by saying I make a ton of mistakes this game. Like, this is by far one of my least clean games I've ever played. But I want to showcase it anyway, A, because I only play one game and showcase it, really. I'm not going to play 10 games and choose my best one. That defeats the purpose. And then B, simply because, you know, mistakes happen. And I wanted to show that, you know, you can still have a good game, or you can still continue playing despite mistakes happening. And especially at lower levels, it really comes down to who makes the least amount of mistakes, because there's definitely going to be mistakes made at both sides, since players are either new to the game or just not experienced enough to be playing clean throughout. Like, pros don't play perfectly. You know, what makes you think, you know, the 1400 going against is going to be playing perfectly, the 1100 playing against is going to be playing perfectly, the 800 you're playing against is going to be playing perfectly. So that's all I'll say. Continue playing the game, even if you feel like you're behind and you might be lost. Just play and see what happens. Don't resign early when you don't need to. My rant here will make sense once you see what happens to my second boar, and onwards after that. So anyway, just going about my scouting, pretty regular stuff. I found everything, and I'm gonna set up my map. I took the back wood line. I have a pretty decent map. I see a couple back golds, back stones. Can't really complain. A few wood lines to wall. This is not an amazing map, but not a bad map. In fact, I'd say it's pretty good. So. I'm going to go about a standard start here. And the one thing I'd say about Byzantine and how I choose to play them is I like to wait to see what my opponent's going to do before trying to counter it immediately. I don't like to blind open men at arms, although it's a decent strategy, simply because I feel like without the eco bonus, you could actually fall behind a civ that has an eco bonus. So then you might be forced to play men at arms skirm, but maybe men at arms skirm is not what you want. And if you play men at arm archer, you simply have no bonuses for that. So I don't like to do that. You end up falling like pretty far behind, I think. So I like to just wall up a little bit, play a little bit defensive, and then see what my opponent's doing and then reacting to it. Because I have so many options and I have opportunity to save on my counter units, I want to, as much as possible, be reacting to what my opponent's going for and trying to counter him. So anyway, very standard build order. We can fast forward a little bit here as I scout my opponent base and see what he has. Actually, I should mention, I saw his mill, and this means that there's going to be no pre-mill drush coming in. So that's very important. And, almost lost his will to the boar. Let's retaliate here by actually killing the boar with my TC. And that hurts just looking at that. So at this point, I'm 400 food down. And I assume MBL had a pretty smooth start, but we can see, yeah, MBL had both boars. 2 farms in Dark Age. It's dubious. That is dubious, but I guess he's playing Slavs, so maybe it makes sense. I don't know. Not sure about that, but okay. Well, we can come back to that one a bit later. But yeah, for now, I'm down a board. This is a bad situation here, and you know, it's gonna slow me down. But I figured I'm gonna, obviously continue playing. I'm not gonna resign. There's no point. If I lose, I'll lose the 10 minutes. It's the same thing. And it's not the end of the world. I can still react and come back from this here. And so, like I said, I'm gonna be reacting here. Barracks, walls, wall on the left side. At least closing half my map down nice and early. It's very important to do so in most games and with most civs. But I think more importantly with Byzantine, because you get extra HP on your walls, so they're a bit harder to break. And it gives you time, like I said, to react to what your opponent's doing, which is exactly what you want to do with the civ. So if I see my opponent going scouts, I'll just do cheaper spearmen. That's why I have the barracks down early. And if I see him going men-at-arms into archer or just archers, I'll try to get into my cheaper skirmishers in some way, shape, or form. And if there's a lot of men-at-arms, I can simply go for a couple archers and I'll be fine. So really, I have an answer to pretty much everything he can throw at me in Feudal Age. But I don't want to be the attacker because, as I said, without an eco bonus, it's so hard to justify attacking off the gate with Byzantine. Again, it could work. It's not terrible, but I prefer to play a bit more reactive with the civ. And it makes perfect sense. You get Town Watch for free. So if you're like, this might not be the best strategy for a beginner type player where you don't have the proper decision making to be reacting. But if you're an intermediate player, hovering around 1400, maybe even 1200 even, up to like 1800, this kind of style is really good because your opponents will most likely know about build orders and how to execute them and how to attack you, and they most likely will throw something your way in terms of early aggression. And if you're ready to just react to what they're doing, you get free Town Watch, which gives you a bit of extra time, and you have so many different options in Feudal Age that lead to good options in Castle Age that you can get away with it properly here without trying to blind men-at-arm rush, and then if that fails, well, you have no eco bonus to rely on. And look at this, like instant Town Watch, I see the militia right away, and I know that there's going to be some sort of men-at-arm rush coming, or at least he bluffed with the militia. And now I'm able to react. Instantly I see this, I make a range, Had I seen a scout rush or nothing for a while, I probably wouldn't have made a range. I probably would have made a spear. In fact, I do make a spear, nonetheless. I would have made a spear, and I would just make more farms and get my Feudal Age down. No need to attack, get my walls up, etc. And, not every game has to be an aggressive kind of start. And Byzantine is one of those civs that likes to play defensively. So again, just playing defensively here. The men-at-arms are coming. And I got a spearman to defend. And this could get messy here. He ends up sniping my spearman, doesn't go for a villager. Probably for the best, because if he goes for a villager, I can always run it back. But, MPL is getting some good damage here in his own right, He's getting some idle time. He could potentially still kill a village. He's got 3 men-at-arms. But I have an archer coming up, and I'm going to rely on a bit of quick walls here to save me from the men-at-arms. So, not a bad start. And again, we're playing defensively and we're reacting. This archer and me going to go this early is a direct response to his men-at-arms. I want to defend those guys. And the reason I go archer instead of skirms is actually I played a game recently against MBL where he went full men-at-arms against me with Celts, and I was fearing the same thing could happen with Slavs, so I want to get archers out early and not rely on pure skirms to then die by full men-at-arms. So I was definitely mindful of that this time around. But yeah, overall, now I'm sending my scout forward. And again, I talk about reacting, and the reason I'm able to react well is because I know what's coming. If you don't know what's coming, you can't react. You have to react too late, and sometimes you'll lose. So now I want to see what's his follow-up behind this. So I make sure he's got nothing forward. I only see the men-at-arms and the scouts. So now I'm going to go to his base and see what his follow-up is. That's a very important moment in the game, because if I don't know what his follow-up is, I don't know how I can possibly react back to it. So I'm just going to keep myself secure, wall up, and I'll be good. And then meanwhile, going forward with my scout to see what he's up to, see what his follow-up move is. It's very important to do so. And now I'm just simply reacting to what's going on and trying to full wall. And I see no building, and I see a lot of farms. So I can't conclude for sure what's going on. But my guess at this point was that he was either going to go for a stable transition, so a scout, or he was just going to go a lot of farms to try to get up the Castle Age. Let's see which one. I actually don't know what he has now. At this point, he's got no building, so he's just walling, and he probably wants to just go for a faster Castle Age behind this with the farms. So I was kind of right in one of those things. And again, I didn't know that. I see a production building later, but yeah, I'm going to clear up the men-at-arms now. And at this point, because I see no production building from MBL, I kind of want to attack soon. Like, I don't want to waste too much time defending. So I put the pressure on the men-at-arms. I just try to chase them down, walk them down here, kill them. And oh, I forgot about this. MBL hits me with the Hera snipe here. Oh god, that hurts. Well played, MBL, though. That was a good one. Hitting me with my own move, actually. What the hell? Using my own spells against me, some would say. But yeah, that scout's being annoying. And now, my ego's hurt. I obviously got hit with my own move. He gets a villager. And I was like, man, it's so unnecessary for me. I didn't like that situation. And I want to counterattack now. I want to counterattack anyways, though, because I obviously want to punish my opponent. If he's got no buildings, you have to attack him. And I think this is where NBL makes his first mistake, as we just see what his scout is up to at the moment. Still running around up to no good. I don't think he gets much else, though. But yeah, I think this is NBL's first mistake. So I'm across the map, and he doesn't really know that I'm coming across the map, but he can probably imagine that because he saw a few of my units. And he's not fully walled yet. Furthermore, he doesn't have a production building. He's only now getting his range down. So he's kind of playing with fire. And if I'm able to get into his building, or into his base, sorry, he's not going to have an answer to a few archers with fletching. And I'm funneling a couple more as well to get some damage in. So double bit axe coming in late. Guys, I told you it wasn't a clean game. I told you I made a lot of mistakes, and I made a lot of mistakes this game. So yeah, kill this guy eventually, which is nice, I suppose. But yeah, the important thing here is that I try to get some damage, because I'm down a villager. I'm down the double bit axe timing. It's not really looking good for me in terms of in terms of smooth eco. But you never know what kind of damage I can find here. He does a smart move to go on the side of his base with the villagers. But I'm still pushing through his berries, and honestly, my goal was just to get 1 or 2 vills and idle his eco. I didn't run any crazy amount of damage, and I get just that. So I'm going to go for the first vill here. He tries to dodge, but I just barely yoink that villager at the end there. And then I'm going to go straight to his wood line again, playing pretty aggressively here. It's the first time of the game I'm able to go aggressive. And he's actually up to castle age, so I wouldn't even say he's losing at the moment. He just needs to equalize here, stabilize, and he probably will be fine. I'm going to try and get a couple more vills. I see he's got skirms, but they have no upgrades yet, so I figured I could stay here a little bit more and maybe even find 1 or 2 more vills. I just have to run around. I'm also sneaking a couple archers on this side as well. So you know what? It's looking decent. And this is where the next step decision making comes in for me. So I see some skirms from him, and you know what? I see that he doesn't have a large army, and I know he's up to castle age faster. So I actually decide to go for crossbows. Now you might be wondering, why go for crossbows when you don't save on those units with Byzantine? Well, the answer is there's nothing wrong with crossbows, even with the generic save with no eco bonus in castle age. It's simply a strong unit. But with Byzantine, you do get the bonus or the possibility to do a faster imp because you have the cheaper imp. And Arbalest is the best unit to get with a faster imp. Because it's just such a strong unit that doesn't have any counter in castle age besides like mass cavalry, which is hard to get to. So, crossbows could potentially lead to a fast imp, and I'm more than happy to play that with Byzantines in castle age. And the next reason is my opponent MBL didn't really give me a way to make use of counter units. Like if I go skirmishers is still more or less a defensive unit. So if I can't counter any of his units, there's no reason to go skirmishers. Again, camels. Can't really go camels. He doesn't have any knights, and they're not really the best raiding units. And then finally pikemen. Well, there's no reason to go pikemen here at all. So I'm kind of forced to play crossbows. But like I said, it's not a terrible option, even with Byzantine, who don't get the bonus for it. So with these crossbows, or these archers, sorry, I'm going to look to get as much damage as possible. I get lucky and find a weak vill here. And I'm going to pick it off. Yeah, get that villager. And now I think it's about time for these archers. They're going to die. But you know what? I get a pretty good amount of value. I forced him to go fletching and armor on the skirms, so he's invested quite a lot into the defense now. And, well, NBL, I don't think he really has a good plan at the moment. He's got very messy eco with the gold. I have done a little bit of damage to his wood eco, so he cannot get town centers down as he wanted, I'm pretty sure. And looks like he's deciding for a forward villager here. I don't know about any of this, though, so I'm just going to give you a little bit of context there on NBL's perspective. I don't know about any of this, so I'm going to just go with my game plan. What's my game plan? Crossbows. I'm getting Horse Collar now, and I'm going to go with a couple archers to hit his villagers. Now, if you ask what I thought at the game, at the time, what I thought he was going to go for, I thought he was going to go for knights. Why? Slavs get food eco. He didn't make too much army in Feudal Age. It makes sense to go knights in castle age to get some good pressure in. That's what I had expected. And so you're going to see me dropping a range here. And my idea was I wanted to play crossbows and camels to counter the knights. So that's what I expected from him. And actually that theory was solidified because I didn't see him upgrade his range units here. No upgrades here on range units. He didn't really make more of them. So I'm like, you know what? I'm pretty certain he's going to go for knights. I obviously did not know about the forward vill, even with the Byzantine Town Watch. And I have a pretty big farm eco here, despite the not too long feudal age. So the knight or the stable makes sense. I'm able to afford a few camels, no doubt here. And then I'll simply be able to get a couple town centers and then get my boom on. And at this point, was I in the lead? I think I was slightly in the lead, but honestly, I wasn't too confident because I had I had a lot of mistakes on my end. The dead boar, the late bid axe, and this is a scary moment. I see the siege shop, I see the pikeman attack, so I know exactly what he's doing. And I'm gonna just try and dodge the mangonel here as much as possible with my weird movements. And then I see crossbow, and at this point, I'm very I have question marks going on everywhere. So crossbow right there, pikeman and siege. I was like, whoa, he's investing a lot into this, and I'm not really a fan. But again, I don't see this, so I'm gonna be like, okay, let's counterattack right away. But I'm not just gonna counterattack. I'm gonna defend with a knight and a siege shop of my own, just to make sure, and with a few archers as well, just to make sure I don't die at home. I'm making quite a bit of investment. So again, siege shop, it's not something I make, normally, but I see that my opponent's going forward siege, so I'm gonna go for it, obviously in defense, and I'm gonna simply counterattack with my crossbows. Why would I keep them here? And this is a mistake I do a lot myself. If your opponent is attacking you, he's gonna have nothing at his base to defend. It's simple as that. So why keep all my crossbows here, which would do absolutely nothing because he's pushing me with mangonels anyway. The crossbows can't really do too much against that. Rather go counterattack, it's much more value. And I'm talking to myself first and foremost with this because I always make the mistake of just going ultra defense and then getting squeezed out and there's no chance of counterattacking whatsoever. But this time I'm going to take my chances, go for a counterattack, and then also do the right steps at home to defend, like with the mangonel, the stable, and all that stuff. And you know what, at this point I feel like I could get one town center, but my wood is pretty messy here, so I'm not going to go for a second town center right away because I don't know how heavy his push will be. So that's the situation, and you know what, my counterattack does pretty good damage. I found one villager, I'm starting to break into his base, and he actually goes all the way back. I don't know about this yet, I only see the mangonel just now, so he's going to go all the way back, and you know what, I think I've just defended the push. And as soon as I see that, I get a little bit excited here. With my knights, I'm going out to try and help against the mangonel, and I feel like I got myself a little bit more breathing room at home as well, and I'm finding some really reasonable damage hitting his wood line here, and I'm just being so annoying with such a little army as well, 8 crossbows only. And then meanwhile getting my boom at home. Next step is to fix that ugly wood line, and yeah, just the knight's gonna find some damage if he can, and if not, he'll just join my attack. And again, I'm going to send another group of archers onto the left side because why would I keep them home? His push is completely dead at this point. So he's not pushing me. There's no reason to keep my archers at home. I'd rather just attack here. I'm going to try to make a run for it, go inside his base, and I finally get in there actually. And this is problematic for him. Like, how does he's just going to chase me? Like, the crossbow attack didn't really make sense from his perspective. He has less than me, so I'm able to one-shot them easily. And then back home, I'm 3TC booming. Again, 1 on wood, 1 on gold. If you guys follow my builders, you know I always advocate for that, especially in my educational content as well. And, MBL is pretty well defended. He's got a TC here. Vil count, I'm up 5, but that's pretty close, all things considered. However, now he's going to get such idle villagers here. Loses the farm, loses the Vil, idling a lot of his eco, forced to come back on his push. This crossbow attack has done quite a lot of damage here, and this might be the game-winning move, and I'm actually able to run away if I'm not a greedy boy. I go back in because I want to get more damage, but the better move would be to just to run and recognize that enough damage has been dealt, and well, now, how embarrassing would it be if I take a mangonel shot and lose all my crossbows, you know what I mean? That's what I'm thinking to myself, but you know what, I'm pretty happy with the damage done. And I'm feeling a bit ballsy actually. I'm killing that mangonel. He gets the repair. Couldn't quite finish it off. But micro's pretty good for me. I'm running away. What can go wrong? I think I've made it pretty much out of his base. Misclick there, but managed to recover. Microing, I'm a beast. Oh my god. And then boom. It comes. It had to come. Like, it had to come. There's no way I can play a game and not get my ass squashed by a mangonel shots versus MBL. So it does come in, but again, I got enough damage there. I'm fine. I'm up 10 Vils. I disturbed his eco, and I have an untouched eco at home as well. And now the danger is that I can go fast in behind this. Like, I'm Byzantine. I'm so close to clicking up. I need another 400 food. That's it, and I'm up. And then I'm easily able to play Arbalest in Imperial Age, and Slavs don't really have a good answer to that if they invest into Castle Age, which MBL most certainly did here. So It's looking pretty good for me if I can just play safe and go up to the Imperial Age and simply win from there. So the plan is to play a bit defensively for Castle Age. But you know what? I wasn't happy with defense only. I wanted to get, be active on the map because I felt like my opponent didn't have that much military. So I want to try and catch his mangonels on the way out. I'm patrolling this knight here, looking out for, with my crossbows, seeing what he has, and then I'm looking out a bit too much. And I take another shot. Remember at the start of the game when I told you this is not one of my cleanest games? I really meant it. It wasn't clean. In fact, it was very, very nasty. And now my opponent here, MBL, is pushing on. With now I'm kind of worried. Like, this is the first time in the game where I feel like I could actually lose the game because I lost like 20 crossbows in the past minute or so to mangonels, and my opponent has quite a big army. But I figured, you know what? I still have the fast game plan here to win, and all I have to do is simply defend his siege push. So I just get everything back. I see a siege is coming here. Get everything behind my walls. Byzantine walls have a bit of extra HP, so I'll buy myself, 5 extra seconds here. I lose the ram, trying to micro the mangonel, buy myself some time. And now I'm up to Imperial Age as I get to university. I should click very, very soon. That was the last building missing. Yeah, and there it is. So I'm up to Imperial Age here with the cheaper Byzantine Imp. And now I'm simply going to try and survive with crossbows. And I think here I still lose out on this mangonel. Yeah, I lose out on the mangonel fight as well. So I lost pretty much every single micro fight I could. But, I'm still playing tactically slightly better, I believe. I think MBL made some mistakes with decision making, like pikeman crossbow early castle was such a big investment, and then sending everything forward without having any defense was also pretty risky. So tactically I'm playing better. Micro and fight wise, I think MBL got the better of me overall. And the score is in his favor, but I think that's lying. I think that's just because I'm up to Imp. I'm doing more than fine right now. I just have to hold, and I'm doing a good job of holding. Like I have a pretty reasonable army to defend here. I've got my TC close by as well, so you cannot really loop around or anything like that. And yeah, now it's his turn to be making some mistakes here. Bam, loses a mango. Oh, kills a few archers though. Yeah, he's going to lose his other mango, and then he's going to lose his entire army here as he runs under my TC, which I'm not really sure what that was. But again, I can't really knock him. I mean, I was running face first into mangonel shots all game, so we both had our fair share of mistakes here. So anyway, now that the game opens up, I'm finally feeling good to attack again. I've defended, and you know what? At this point, I'm like, okay, I have Arbalest. Let's invest into them. Thunderwings coming up. Couple more rangers. I want to get map control is very important here, so I'm gonna try and pick that up. And yeah, he's got the mangonel, which goes down. So now for me, everything's going forward. And for MBL, he doesn't really, I don't want to see his perspective because I want to really give you guys the vibe of me playing this game and what it would look like if you guys were playing it. But at this point, I don't know what he's doing, and I know he's still in Castle Age. I didn't know he clicked up, actually. I thought he was much worse off, to be honest. I thought he was going to be stuck in Castle Age for a while. Turns out he just clicked here, and it looks like he's going to go for some sort of cavalry unit. I don't really know about that, though. I don't know what he's doing at all, but I know that he's going to have no counter to our Bless for the next few minutes for sure, since he's not up to Imp. So now I'm going to really put the pressure, start expanding on the sides with outposts, because that's what you do in Imperial Age. And I actually decided to go for a forward castle. The reason is I see a forward stone, I see a forward gold, and I know he cannot really defend this forward castle because I'm going to have Arbalest very soon. I don't do it too forward, just in case he's up to Imp, and just in case he's going to be having some, like, I don't know, a castle behind, and then we enter into a Treb War. I didn't really want to engage in Treb War. I want to just get a grip of the forward building. Is it a mistake to not put it forward? Maybe. But I would, I'd rather not risk throwing the game. So I would say I opted for the safer option to put it a little bit behind. I see a couple of siege shots from him, so I'm thinking maybe he wants to go Onager and Imperial Age now. Yeah, this is the second siege shot, so I'm thinking maybe Onager and Imperial Age. And that gets me thinking right away I might need a counter to Onager, so something with mobility or maybe some bomber cannons. I was also considering monks, but I don't like doing monks in Arabia because it full dice to Hussar, and that's such a common unit for Slavs to go for in general. So, and monks don't have really the mobility, so monks is a good option. I just, it's not my style. But to counter Onager, it is a good option. So going like 2 monasteries, forward monks with trebs, that is a very legit option, but I didn't see myself doing that because I don't like missing out on that much mobility on Arabia. That's more of an arena strategy for me personally. But anyway, you can see how I'm spreading out my Arbalest, really trying to do as much damage as possible in these few minutes where he can't really answer them. And I see he's got another siege workshop here, so again, this is I'm pretty certain he's going to go Onager. or something siege related. I don't know what else he has. He might have champion with onagers. He might have hussars later. He might even go cavalier. I don't really know. So I decided to simply go for Arbalest into bomber cannon because I know onagers coming out, and bomber cannon is also good to push buildings. But I kind of save my future transition. So you can see I'm expanding, doing all of the things correctly. I start to pick up relics as well. I'm not going to go for another transition. A big mistake I see a lot of intermediate players making is that they'll rush to their composition. They'll go Arbalest, and then right away they start teching into Cataphract or something like that, or whatever their next unit wants to be. But as I said at the start of the game, it's okay, especially with Byzantine, to react to what your opponent's doing. So I see Onager, I'm going to counter that. I'm going to get bomber cannons out, and that's going to be a good counter to Onager. And then I'm going to wait to see what else he's doing to try and counter that unit. At this point, I don't know. I only see Onager. I can guess Hussar, or a cavalier, and that's in fact what he's going, but we don't know about that. I could guess that, but at this point I thought maybe he might try something else. Maybe he'll try I don't know, champions or halberdier push, something weird. Without vision it's hard to know. So I decided to have a pretty good grip of the game. I'd rather just wait to see what he has. I actually go for a delete here. I want to see if I did anything. No, I didn't kill it. Good micro there from his onager. I don't have Arbalest yet, which might be triggering to some of you, but I prioritize chemistry for bomber cannons, and Brazier is just a better upgrade than Arbalest. Simple as that, because it gives that extra range, which is one of the most important upgrades. One of the most important stats on archers. He goes for a nice move. He goes for castle on the hill, but I'm one step ahead. I'm castle on a bigger hill within treb distance. I do want to go for that relic though, and that monk's gonna go down. Spoiler alert. But as you can see, I have so much vision. Look at the grip I have on the game. Castle on this left side. I got a castle forward controlling his resources. Castle on the right with hills and outposts everywhere. He is only in 25% of the map, and I know that. So at this point, I'm taking stable units. And my thought process was that I want to counter onagers and or raid, because I wasn't seeing anything from him. And I was tired of waiting, and I had a big eco. So I decided, you know what? Let's just put the pressure on. Someone's just subscribed when I'm offline. Respect, dude. Thank you. But yeah, I'm going to go for Cavalier. And that's such a weird choice for Byzantine because you get no savings on it. But my reasoning was as follows. If I go Cavalier, I don't have to invest into like 30 of them. Invest into like 10, 15 Cavalier. It's way stronger than Light Cav. And in case he's doing his own Hussar, Cavalier are pretty good against them. And in case he's doing like champions or something weird like that, again, Cavalier will be pretty good against them. Whereas Hussar from Byzantine will not. At this point, I see his Hussar, his Light Cav, and Cavalier is a pretty good choice here. Because Cavalier would be pretty good against Light Cav, and they'd be great at sniping onagers and raiding. So I'm pretty happy with the Cavalier choice. I'm going to invest a few Cavaliers in there. And then I could also go Camels behind this as well. So 10-15, the Paladin was a mistake. 10-15 Cavalier into Camels could be good. Ooh, I actually landed a nasty shot there, hitting both. Sick. Bomber Cannon coming up clutch. And then immediately I'm going to do a castle at home. And that's simply to help defend against the raids of the Light Cav as well. So I have a castle here, town center, town center, town center, town center. I mean, my base is immediately very hard to raid. And then I'm going to also try and push with Cavalier Arbalest. Now you're going to be wondering why double gold unit? And the simple answer is I have relics. I got full map control, already a few relics coming in. And I have a lot of gold outside. So I have both extra golds, still have a lot of my main gold as well. That I'm able to afford that kind of gold pressure. And my opponent is pinned into the corner. I can kill him in the next 5 minutes, 10 minutes for sure. So might as well invest into double gold unit, get stronger units on the field, and then end the game fast. Don't let it drag out. If it doesn't need to drag out, you don't need to drag it out. So double gold unit in this case is perfect. Again, if I went Light Cav, I wouldn't be able to attack in here with the unit because his Hussar would be stronger. Cavalier can tank a little bit more. So although it's not the strongest unit, it doesn't have bloodlines, it's still a Cavalier and it still has 120 HP, 12 attack. So it's still quite decent. And you know, some people might be wondering why no champs, why no halberdier for me? Because you get cheaper halbs. Simple answer is I didn't know he was going to Hussar. I thought he might easily be going champion onagers, champion siege ramps, something weird like that in the back of his base. And I didn't want to give him the chance to roll me one shot. So I decided, you know what, let's just get counters to the onagers. Arbalest, Bomber Cannon, Cavalier. Cavalier is good against any unit you can make here. And it's something that can also let me play offensively and let me raid him. And it ended up being, I don't want to say the perfect choice, because I don't know about that. Maybe Halberdier Ram would have been better in the end, because that would be very oppressive, especially the cheap halbs. But Cavalier ended up being good enough. And the whole point is to win the game, not to completely destroy your opponent in every single way possible. So play consistently, play whatever can get you the win. And Byzantine is just the civ that has so many different options, and it's not the best civ because it's really not. It has some weaknesses, but it's one of the most flexible civs. And if there's someone that likes to play a variety of different strategies in one civilization, highly recommend you pick up the Byzantines. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode of So We Want to Play. It's been a long time coming, and I swear I didn't wait for the best game. Again, this was far from being the best game. I had so many mistakes here, honestly. I had another win that I could have casted in the while back. I honestly things came up, tournaments came up, and I wasn't able to record it for you guys. But finally, it's here. Hopefully everyone enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and leave a comment below if you enjoyed the video. Helps with the ratings and the recommendation, the YouTube algorithm stuff, basically. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Take care, and bye for now.